One of our speakers, Anne Cosgrove, she's still stuck in traffic at the moment, but she's on her way. Unfortunately, we have apologies from Eamon McCann. He's ill at the moment. He sends his apologies. We're in the middle of a historic campaign on Repeal the 8th, and it's by being directly influenced by the Catholic Church in Ireland. That's why we decided to have the meeting on separating church and state. I'm going to let each of the speakers speak. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to get each of the speakers to speak for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll come back in for questions at the end. So I have Brid here, who is a People Before Profit TD, and she was a member of the Joint Directors Committee on the 8th Amendment. She's been campaigning for choice since before 1983, and in her 2 years in the Dáil, she's been a significant presence and highlighted the impact of the 8th Amendment on women's rights. Then beside Brid we have Mr. Vincent Brown.
Comrade
Brown. Who's an iconic journalist and broadcaster. He was a consistent opponent of austerity, and he's sorely missed off our TVs. One of the people that I would really like to see chair some of the upcoming debates on the 8th Amendment. You know, he wouldn't let anyone get away with anything too easily. So we're going to get the speakers.
Okay, thanks very much. Apologies for being late. A lot to be said for public transport in Dublin. No, 2 buses didn't come through Valleyfair. They were stuck in traffic. They're digging up the water. Oh, this is very echoey. Can we do it without that now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better? I had a look at this today. This has been in my house for about a week now. Have you got a question about abortion? Save lives, save the 8th. It's very interesting actually when you go through it in detail. About the 8th Amendment, and some of the things that some of the methods they use to win their argument are quite smart, and in some ways a lot smarter than unfortunately, so far anyway, than I think, and this is a personal opinion, than some of the methods that the Together for Yes campaign are using to try and win an argument for choice. But the first thing that stuck out to me was the kind of appeal to a sort of an anti-government sentiment and to a working class audience. So the pro-abortion campaigners in Ireland, some with the backing of wealthy foreign donors like the billionaire George Soros, are demanding you must vote away another person's right to life. So it's the use of a billionaire against the vulnerable. Very, very smart way of putting it. Campaigners and some politicians want abortion for any reason, and they want you, the taxpayer, to pay for it. Again, a very smart way of getting you on their side, because you're being asked to pay for yet another. It's like if it was bill charges or something, you were asked to pay for water charges. Now you're being asked to pay for women to have the right to choose. We believe abortion should be available countrywide and provided free through the health service. And guess who they're quoting there? People Before Profit. That's the statement from the People Before Profit official policy document. So it's quite interesting the way they're targeting their audience. And they go on, of course, and I think we're all familiar with this argument, that because of the 8th, they're saving up to 30 babies from being aborted every day. Something to be proud of. Let's offer women a better answer than abortion. I had to take a taxi up to a canvas in Walkinstown the other day, and a long conversation with the taxi driver all the way up, and his position, that wasn't public transport, and his position on it was, look at all them people out there, if we'd had abortion, they would, it's possible they wouldn't be walking around, that abortion would have eliminated lots of the population, which is an argument that the Love Boat consistently make. But of course, by the end of the journey, he was completely pro-choice, mostly on the basis that mostly on the basis that I refused to pay the fare. No, mostly on the basis that he put every argument I made. I asked him to put in the context of his own daughters, and when he thought about, if they were raped, if they found themselves homeless, if their life was in danger, if, whatever the circumstances may be, if they were with a partner who was beating them up and they wanted to get away from him, whatever the circumstances might be, how would they feel if it was his own daughter and he had 2 or 3 of them? And at the end of it, he said, I have to say I'd be an utter hypocrite if I didn't agree with that. And I think that this is the way the argument is always being couched, that they put it as a societal issue, that you have to look at it in the wider context. Are you, the taxpayer, going to be made to pay for what the rich want to do to eliminate ordinary babies? This is an industry. The abortion industry is going to make us pay for all of this. And yet what's left out of that are the individual lives of women and the choices that women do make, need to make, and consistently make in this country. Only we don't allow them to have it here. We export it, and we export it often under very tragic and very isolated and very difficult circumstances. And so I think really we have to get across in our campaign, and we have to, I think, be very clear that it has to be about choice. I know that there's some people are saying it has to be about decisions, and yeah, that's fine. But every single door I've knocked on, every argument I've had with people, both in the family, outside of the family, in social circumstances, and on the street, and stalls that we do around the areas with people before profit, the question of choice is the one that people always refer to. That women must be given the choice to live their lives and to make of their lives what they want and what they need. And the idea that it's all about, go out, have a great time, loads of sex all over the gaff, chance to be a fine thing, and then if it goes wrong for you, just get an abortion, and that this is what's going to happen, the floodgates will open. Well, again, interestingly, I was looking at the statistics for abortion in Britain, because these guys make some major claims about Britain being like a slaughterhouse. And the latest figures from The Guardian do indicate an increase in the rate of abortion in Britain. But they show you very clearly that the rate of abortion is increasing among older women. It's women from 35 upwards where the increases happen. And the rate of abortion among women under 30 is actually decreasing. And in the vast, vast majority of those cases, women are taking the abortion pill, and all of the abortions where the pill is used happen before 10 weeks. So the stats are actually going in a good way, except for older women. And what's the explanation for that? Well, BPAS, the British Pregnancy Advice Service's Chief Executive, Anne Faridi, has said that it is because those who seek free emergency contraception are being restricted by cuts to the sexual health services across the NHS. So whatever cuts they have made, and I'm not really familiar with the detail, and she doesn't give the exact detail, but it's very clear that whatever supports and free contraception and morning after pill availability over the counter that was free to women has been slashed for older women, and hence the increase in the rate of abortion for older women. And that's become very, very clear. So the link of women's health services, of their reproductive health, to austerity, to cuts, to finances is very, very clear. And here I want to make a really strong argument for what happens in this country being most important. Because see, when we were sitting on the Joint Oireachtas Committee to look at the outcome of the Citizens' Assembly, myself, Lynn Ruane, Claire Daly, and a few representatives of the left, Ruth Coppinger, we pushed very, very hard for an insertion of conditions under which abortion should be made legalised to be related to socio-economic circumstances. And the evidence for that came most strongly from the Irish Family Planning Association, who for decades have been really the only service that's been providing a thorough sexual health care to women in this country. And they've done an amazing job given what they've been up against, being brought to court by the anti-choice movement many times, being slagged off by the clerics from the pulpit. They've done an amazing job, but their evidence, their consistent evidence was that the people who are hurt most by not having abortion available in their own country are poor, are working class, are refugees, increasingly women in direct provision, and it is those women who can't access services in their own country and access them without huge cost who are being hit the most, and hence the need for a recognition